Hello there, before this video gets underway I wanted to make a quick announcement. I'll be going to Insomnia 68 on Saturday, April 16th and would love to meet any of you guys there. The event is in England, so sorry to any of my American viewers as I know there's a lot of you guys, and it's in Birmingham. I'll leave a link to the event page in the description as I believe you can still buy tickets at this moment. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys there. I'll be updating people on my location at the event through my Twitter, plus by the next time the event rolls round I would have signed on as a creator at the event. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. Hello Trenders! I know it's been a while since a Sunday video came out and I have another 3 assignments coming up, but I knew I needed to make a video because of how long it's been, hence 2 videos this week. So please do bear with me if videos aren't quite as frequent as they are usually. I want to make sure that the content is still all good, so I'm truly sorry for the lack of videos. I've been streaming every week on Wednesday though, and you can access those streams from the playlist labelled streams on the channel. Today I finally found another thing that I never talked about when discussing the sequel to Breath of the Wild, and finding those things is pretty damn rare now. That's the atmosphere of the game. Arguably something that's the biggest thing about gaming and Zelda as a whole, especially with open world games. I'll talk about Breath of the Wild in a moment because that's extremely different, but when it comes to Zelda games before Breath of the Wild, even though I was a huge fan of all of those games, each game really only ever strived to make you feel one of 3 things. Either, yeah, this is really happy and I love this place and I'm a badass, seen in games like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess Hyrule Field or in Skyward Sword, or at least at the start of Skyward Sword anyway. Or they were trying to create a sort of calm atmosphere, but usually there would be some underlying tones, like whilst riding around in Hyrule Field in Ocarina of Time, when you knew that monsters could pop out of the ground at any moment in the night. This sort of atmosphere heavily featured in pretty much all of the Zelda games before Breath of the Wild, and we'll definitely come back to this sort of ambiance later. Finally though, and arguably my favourite of the different kinds of atmosphere the series can set is that of a dark or scary atmosphere, heavily featuring in both Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess, while also being featured in most of the games in the series. Even Wind Waker, a largely happy game, has sparks of scary things in it, like the ghost ship, even if it does turn out that was slightly less scary than expected, and within the Earth Temple. I mean, that place is just terrifying. While Majora's Mask isn't my favourite in the series, I'd say it has some of my favourite settings down to its atmosphere. I even did an entire video just talking about that game and how depressing it is. Twilight Princess is my favourite in the series, but I have a whole bigger video lined up to discuss that game's atmosphere, so I'll leave that for now. So let's just say there's 3 main types of atmosphere the old style of 3D Zelda games will try to create, though of course there'll always be other feelings that the games will try to give you. Let's just agree on this, please, otherwise it makes things so much harder in the comments. Now let's move up to the original Breath of the Wild, the game that started this little duo of games that we could be playing by the end of the year. So, as I said earlier, the second type of atmosphere I discussed is back. While older Zelda games tried to reach an atmosphere that was serene, they usually only hit that on a surface level as you knew the horrors that could sneak up on you at any minute. With the closest part of any of the older Formula Zelda games to hitting Breath of the Wild serenity probably being in the Temple of Time in Twilight Princess. But then it throws a giant spider at you at the end of the dungeon, so who knows, dude. Point is, Breath of the Wild was different and that shows in a lot of ways. As an example, let's run a clip of me playing Breath of the Wild with the track of Hyrule Field in Twilight Princess playing in the background whilst I talk right now. Doesn't fit at all, does it? That's just because playing music constantly in an open world, a truly open world, just wouldn't work. Now, the Zelda team knew this and decided to actually use that to their advantage. Unlike many of the previous games in the series, Breath of the Wild's main music pieces utilise wind-based instruments, a fact that helps to solidify the atmosphere this game strives to achieve. The atmosphere being fully and truly calm. The only real lapse in this calm is when enemies spot you. And when this happens, there are true differences in the atmosphere. If you're truly immersed, especially in the early game, when a guardian spots you, you will be completely terrified for literally every second until you escape the giant robot spider. It is such a difference that it just throws you off. So with Breath of the Wild's atmosphere being calm, with Link running through the world, actively finding real world animals, being able to talk to random NPCs walking through Hyrule, being able to pick up anything you find, and even slowly picking up Korok seeds, mini challenges that keep up that calm nature. Well, with the atmosphere being this completely and utterly calm, before 2019 we really didn't know what we wanted out of atmosphere from a sequel to Breath of the Wild. But that's kinda just because a sequel wasn't on anyone's radars yet. And then one of Nintendo's greatest trailers ever released. In E3 2019 we were given a taste at what a sequel to the game could be like, and was it calm? Well, to start off with, this trailer was silent, calm, serene, but just like the other old titles, there was something underneath that. And as soon as things start to go wrong, the calm is slowly taken away with a score that's truly bone-chilling for a Nintendo game. we seem to be getting a dark or a more scary Zelda, much like both Twilight Princess or Majora's Mask, and this was and is just a great idea for a sequel of any game. Now of course, keeping it brief, E3 2021's trailer for the game dropped 2 years later, and almost 1 year ago now, and the game seemed to be going for a much more grandiose sort of theme, more in line with the I'm a badass sort of atmosphere, before letting the viewer take another glimpse into a darker kind of Zelda with the end of the trailer. So now it's time to really discuss atmosphere in Breath of the Wild 2. What kind of atmosphere do I think they're going for? Well, in Breath of the Wild 2 I personally want to keep seeing this scary sort of Zelda game, but that's just personal preference. I definitely think they will deliver this, though I also think we'll be getting a contrast. So let's run through a few options as we have the usual overworld returning in the sequel, a Sky Island looking area that is confirmed, and we have other potential bits of the game that are pure speculation such as underwater areas and underground areas. So let's talk about it. In the usual overworld, I'm expecting the atmosphere present to be sort of similar. Something might be different, like Hyrule Castle being lifted off of the usual ground, which would look pretty insane, and some villagers might also be pretty caught off guard by this fact. But I think the general feel of the map will still hold true, being pretty peaceful with hints of craziness being hidden throughout the world. And I think that fits the atmosphere very well, down to the fact that things do have to live in that world still. Beings have to be able to survive in that normal overworld. However, I think the Sky Islands could be very different atmospherically. It seems like a lot of ancient structures are going to be seen throughout these islands, as seen in the E3 2021 trailer. I think the atmosphere present in these areas will be much more grandiose, more horns, drums and other louder instruments going around. From what we've seen, these areas are dense with things to do, and are pretty small, which means it wouldn't feel wrong for grand music to be playing a lot of the time in the background, unlike the open world in the original Breath of the Wild. Along with that though, I think there won't be many people around visually. Because of this, even with the grand music, the areas will still feel silent. Almost as if the music is trying to state to the player that the area deserves respect, even if less beings are here to inhabit the lands. So that's it for areas that we know for sure are going to be in Breath of the Wild sequel. Let's take a look at a more speculative look at some new areas. First of all, I think any underground areas should be deathly silent, or should have some truly terrifying music playing in the background. Just some ambience that makes it scary to walk around any underground areas, just to really add to the atmosphere of travelling underneath Hyrule. Some music like the Elden region and previous Zelda games could also fit the underground if they don't want to make the areas scary but slightly more goofy. I'd love for there to be underground dwellers in these areas too, to really set alive the fact that things do live underground and could be hunting Link at all times. Something chasing Link at times would also be amazing, hoping this is the case and overall hoping that some more underground areas are found in Breath of the Wild 2. The final sort of atmosphere I want to discuss today is through underwater exploration. I also think the ambience of the world around you should be the main focus of these areas if they actually include underwater structures, with maybe some outliers. Swimming around the areas listening to songs that are reminiscent of Zora's domain in Breath of the Wild. There should be some Zora swimming around to give that part of the world some place as well. Barring this, unless there's some big underwater creatures, I think water should also have this mist of scary but peaceful that areas like Forest Temple had in Ocarina of Time, as that's kind of what it's like in the real world. You never know what lurks beneath the surface. Now, what kind of atmosphere would you like to see in Breath of the Wild 2? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, as I can expand even further down there as well, whenever I have the time. I also read and heart every single comment, so make sure to get your thoughts down there. Overall, my words aren't final at all, but I think for each of the areas I discussed today, I want their themes to be slightly different. Plus, I want to expand on this idea in a future video, discussing underwater and underground villages, so I hope you'll join me for that in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, then please do support me by leaving a like, rating and subscribing as we wait for more Breath of the Wild 2 news. I stream weekly on a Wednesday as well, so along with being a part of the 20% of people who are subscribed that watching this video, you'll also get even more content. So thank you a ton if you do. The people you can see on screen right now are my Patreon supporters, and they're just amazing people. Now look at them. Some G and Jared Whedon are especially amazing for me and my top paying patrons, and just look at those very so unique names that they get every single week. Thank you so much for the support, guys. If you'd like to join them, then you can do for as little as £1 or $1.50 a month. The link to my Patreon is in the description, and along with that link is the link to the rest of my media platforms, so please do follow me on them to keep in touch with me. Again, thank you so much for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed, I'll see you on Wednesday if you join the stream, and please do stay safe.